I want to welcome everybody to this demonstration. Ohio police takes the life of 15-year-old Jazmir Tuckett. Salute to my moderators. Salute to the replay gang. Salute to the chat. Let me read this copyright disclaimer, and then we're going to jump into this demonstration. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. What that means is that everything that you hear in this demonstration is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Everything that you hear in this demonstration is only allegedly. We have another cop, another police unaliving of a black male. This black male happens to be 15 years old. And yes, he is a twin. He does have a twin. Now, this incident happened in Ohio. The young man by the name of Jazmir Tucker was only 15 years old. When will it stop? Salute Sages. Salute Miss Parker. Salute Positive Vibes.
Family wants answers after a police officer shot and killed a 15-year-old boy. This all happened last week. Police say that two officers heard gunshots near a school, got out of their cruiser and encountered Jazmir Tucker with a loaded gun. One of the officers, a 5-year veteran, then shot and killed the 15-year-old. But the circumstances around the shooting are not exactly clear. And now Tucker's family wants to know if he pointed a gun at the officers, if he was running away, and whether he was the one who fired the shots that those officers heard.
Give us some answers. Why do you have to shoot my grandson like that?
What did he do to make you do that to him? Why would you shoot him?
Ohio's Bureau of Criminal Investigations is looking into the shooting. Ultimately, the case will be presented to a Summit County grand jury. Meanwhile, both officers are on paid leave pending the investigation. That is standard policy.
We hear it over and over again. Saget says, I'm just so tired of how the police treats an average black man. Ms. Parker says this is horrible. The fact that they don't have answers is crazy. And let me just start by saying this. We have been experiencing the death of black people in this country for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It would be a different story if the unaliving by the police of these black kids, because he was only 15 years old. It would be different if this was something that just say started happening 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. However, if you're old enough and if you know anything about American history, you know that black people, children included, black people have beaten, lynched, slaughtered, shot down in the streets, not only by police officers, but in the case of Aubrey, the young man that was unalived down there in Georgia. You don't even have to be a police officer. Trayvon Martin was unalived. Trayvon Martin was 17 years old when he was unalive by George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman wasn't even law enforcement. The dispatcher told George Zimmerman they don't need him to follow Trayvon no more. They don't need him to pursue him. Appreciate the membership, Ms. Parker. Appreciate the membership, Ms. Parker. And George Zimmerman went against law enforcement's orders because they told him, okay, we got the description of him. We'll take care of it. But George Zimmerman still pursued Trayvon Martin. And moments later, Trayvon Martin came up unalive. Somehow, George Zimmerman went to court. Remember, they didn't even arrest him at the time, but he went to court and was found not guilty. Now, Trayvon Martin, 17 years old. I want y'all to pay close attention to this because it has to stop by any means necessary. It has to stop. I can recall an incident with my son. My son was no more than 11 years old. And this happened in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Salute, Leggin. Salute, Leggin. This happened in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Salute, Brent. Appreciate you for pulling up, Brent. Salute. Salute, Cotan. Appreciate everybody for pulling up for this early demonstration. Me and my son was driving, and so I had went to pick my son up from his mom's house. Now, they had a warrant. They had a warrant for my son's mother boyfriend. Now, I go pick my son up. Now, the police was staked out at my son's mother house. You know, I seen them when I was pulling up. You know, I seen them. I said, damn. I said, they deep. I said, they get ready to run up in somebody's house, or even they got a warrant for somebody. But at the time, I'm not knowing that the warrant is for my baby mother's boyfriend. So my son, he no more than 10 years old. My son, he weighed probably about, I'm gonna say about 60 or 70 pounds. My son's mother boyfriend, he weighed damn near 250. You know, he was bigger than me. So it was a complete different description as far as my son and his mother's boyfriend. So my son gets in the car. Now, like I said, my son, he no more than 10. So, you know, we pull off. So as soon as we pull off, the cops, they get behind us. Okay. I already know what it is. So in my mind, I'm saying to myself, damn, I ain't broke the law in some years. So I'm saying to myself, I'm thinking that they coming after me. So I'm putting two and two together. I'm saying, well, I know I'm good because I haven't broke the law, you know, in some years. So I said, I know I'm good. Then I started to think about some things from my past, you know, and I said, well, damn. So, you know, they jump out on us and they tell us get out the car. You know, they got the guns drawn on us, but they got the guns on my son. They got like 3 officers with their guns drawn on my son. One officer had his gun drawn on me. Then the officer that had his gun drawn on me, he put his gun down. Now you got 3 officers with their guns drawn on a 10-year-old kid. 10-year-old kid now. Salute, Bronze. Salute, Bronze. So I'm like, officer, what's good? I'm like, can you take the guns away from my son? I said, he's a kid. Put the guns back on me. But this is my son. So 2 of the officers, you know, they took their gun, put their guns down. One officer still got the gun on my son. And I'm begging them. I'm looking at the other officers like, please, man, please get him, you know, tell him to put his gun down. One officer, he was telling the officer, you know, put the gun down. He still had the gun on my son. So I'm like, what's good? What's good? I got my hands in the air, they like, put your hands down. They don't got no beef with me. They got the beef with my son. He's 10 years old. So they telling me it's a warrant, and they reading the name of the warrant. And I'm like, that's my son's mother boyfriend. They see that it ain't my son. So the officer, he still got the gun on my son. So the other officer had to go up to him and tell him. He whispered something in his ear, don't know what he said to him in his ear. Then he finally put the gun down, and I could see my son, he nervous. He's 10 years old. He looking at me. Now I got a split second of a choice to make. Do I come out of character, knowing if I come out of character, I'm as dead as any of these other black men and women and kids. I know they're going to lay me down. So not the officer that got the gun drawn, the officer that whispered something in his ear, he tells to me and my son, he said, I want to apologize. We're so sorry. We just didn't know who he was. After we realized that it wasn't him, that's why we put that. I said, and I'm not trying to be smart. I said, but can we at least get an apology from a man right there? And the officer said, we so sorry, called me by my government name. And he said, you and your son, y'all go ahead. Y'all free to go. Y'all have a nice day. And I'm still waiting for the apology from the other one. And he never gave us an apology. Never gave us an apology. So when these situations happen, these are kids, man. Like I said, my man right here, Jazmir, just look at him. And he has a twin. That's a baby. To me, that's a baby. 15 years old. To me, that's a baby. I got a granddaughter that just turned 16. I got a granddaughter that's older than him. So that he like my grandson. And it's like we can chop it up in all kind of angles. We can look at it. So, okay. So they're saying that the officers heard some shots, right? The officers heard some shots in the area. They see young Jazmir walking. They pull up. They get out. And now this is all we know as of right now. They haven't released the body cam footage. See, the body cam footage, it's going to tell us. It's going to show us. Here's my thing. Why do they always withhold the body cam footage? They always withhold that body cam footage. So allegedly they get out. Allegedly, young Jazmir, he points the loaded, pow at him. That's when the officer, and they're not saying how many times he was hit. They're not saying if both officers, let off and hit him. But what they are saying is both officers are on paid administrative leave. Paid. We see this over and over again. We've seen this play. We've seen it go down over and over again. Back to the point that I was making earlier. This is nothing new. Many people will say, well, the parents need to do something about their children. The parents need to raise their children better. There's some truth to that. However, and I want y'all to listen very, very clear to me. It was a time when the parents were raising their children with respect, with manners. For all y'all that don't know, this is how the Black Panther Party, this is why Huey P. Newton, this is why they started the Black Panther Party, because the cops, now this is the 60s, this is the 1960s, the cops, the same way today, the cops were unaliving us Black people, and that's men, women, and children. So for all those that feel like it's because of the parents aren't raising their children right, that's not true. That's not true, because in the 60s and before the 60s, and I'm gonna go even back further, but that's why the Black Panther Party were created, because we got tired of the police brutality. We got tired of them killing us. And you know, back in the 60s, they were still lynching us. They were still hanging us. Let me take some comments real quick, y'all. Positive Eye says the lawsuit on those officers and police station would have been through the roof on them, shaking my head. Leggin says facts. Brent says just like they may let out the person who unalived Sonia Massey. Facts. And I've done that demonstration the other night. Lush says, Leggin says, that's also pathetic too, Brent. So that's why I want back the blue. That's why they crooked as hell. Facts. So now we go back even before the 60s, even before the Panthers were created, when we were being lynched, when we were being hung. Because many people might say, well, it's the way that y'all dress. Because when Trayvon Martin, when George Zimmerman took the life of Trayvon Martin, well, if y'all stop wearing hoodies, why is it always when we are the victims? Why is it, even when we're victims, why is it our fault? You cannot blame the victim. A victim is a victim. And I'm going to get to poor Emmett Till as well. But remember with Trayvon, because he wore the hoodie. Well, if y'all Black guys wouldn't wear hoodies, other nationalities wear hoodies. Caucasian boys, Caucasian men, Asian boys, Latinos, all men and even women, all males wear hoodies. Remember, they made a big deal about that. He had on a hoodie, and it was hard for Zimmerman to determine whether or not, you know, and then I even heard a comment from a lady to say, well, the reason why Trayvon is unalive is because he didn't go back to George Zimmerman to see what George Zimmerman wanted. Salute Londa. Salute Londa. So George Zimmerman is a citizen, is a regular Joe Blow, just like you and I. He called for Trayvon Martin to come back. He wanted Trayvon Martin to come back. And so if Trayvon Martin would have just went back to George Zimmerman to see what George Zimmerman wanted, then Trayvon Martin would still be alive. For all non-Blacks, do y'all see what we go through? For white people, for Caucasians, do y'all see the hell of a fire condition? Do y'all see the reality of Black people in this country? That even our children are hunted in the streets, and their lives are being taken from them. So it was a big thing about the hoodie. Well, if we go back, we can go to Emmett Till, poor Emmett Till, and come to find out the white woman lied, and there was a warrant for the white woman's arrest. They found that warrant, what, a few years ago? The warrant was in the basement of the courthouse. So there was a warrant for her arrest. And what happened? What happened? After all these years, there was a warrant. There's the one. After all these years, they still didn't arrest her. And I'm not even going to paint the picture because the picture has already been painted. What we go through in this country. Let's even go back further than that. It was a time when all black males, it was a time when black females wore dresses or even skirts. Hanging from them trees wasn't just black men, but hanging from them trees was black women as well as children. And just like it was a time when black women and girls wore dresses and skirts, it was a time when black men wore suits. Black boys, if they didn't have on a suit, if they didn't have on a tie, they had on some slacks with a button-up shirt. But they tried to push that on it. Well, it's the way y'all dress. Go back in time and look at the pictures of how we dress. We took pride in the way we dress. So it's not far-fetched to understand why we dress the way we dress today. No matter what we do, y'all see it, no matter what we do, we still come up short. What are you going to say about the blacks that were hung from the trees, dressed in suits and ties, dressed in dresses and skirts? What are you going to say about those black men and women and children? Are you going to blame it on the way they dress? Well, Shank Rock, see, the problem with y'all blacks is lazy. Y'all blacks don't have nothing in y'all community. Y'all blacks don't even own the stores and the businesses that's in y'all community. You know why? Do you know why? Did it ever dawn on you why we don't own nothing in our communities? Because it was a time. Y'all heard of Black Wall Street. But what many don't know, Tulsa, Oklahoma wasn't the only Black Wall Street. Down there in Georgia, up here in North Carolina, Indiana, Indianapolis, Alabama, Chicago, Philly, all over. Black Wall Street just wasn't down there in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But what happened to the Black Wall Street that was down there in Tulsa, Oklahoma? A white mob came on their side and did what? Burned schools, grocery stores, hospitals, barbershops, hair salons, and other Black-owned businesses. Why did the white mob, why did they do that? And why wasn't none of them prosecuted? To this day, and I believe that it's one remaining Tulsa, Oklahoma survivor that's still alive, just one. And see, when we talk about reparations, and then you wonder why we're still talking about reparations. We haven't even got our 40 acres in the middle. Every time Black people get something, white people either steal it from us, they either cheat us out of it, or they just completely burn it down and destroy it. Look at what the Black farmers have been going through for hundreds of years. That's why we don't own nothing. Because whenever we own something, they come in, cheat us out of it, burn it down, destroy it. One way or another, they find a way to take whatever it is that we own. They find a way to take it from us. And it ain't, how can we win? How can we win when all the laws are set up to go against us? How can we win? So I understand, because see, when my generation came along, my generation was Generation X. X on the supreme alphabet, X represents the unknown. Many wonder how or where did Malcolm X get his name from. His name was Malcolm Little, but once he accepted the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, once you accept the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, you got to give your last name back, because all of our last names belong to the slave master. So he was Malcolm Little. Little was the slave master that owned Malcolm's family. So Malcolm gave back the slave master's last name, which was Little, and he took on the X, which is unknown, Malcolm X. Leggett says, hell, I'm part Indian and part Irish, and hell, I rock my hoodie shank. Exactly. Exactly. Now, the Irish, and not just black people, has had encounters with the KKK. The Irish as well. The Klans hated the Irish. They still hate the Irish. The Klan hate the Jews. We know they hate us, and I'm going to give y'all just a brief demonstration on the Irish, how the Irish had to go to war with the Klans up there in Indiana. And that's how you have the University of Notre Dame. That's why they call the University of Notre Dame, their sports team, the Fighting Irish. Because up there, that university, the School of Notre Dame, the Klan was trying to take over. And those students and those people in that town got together with the Irish, and they fought the Klans. And that's how you get the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame, because the Klans was trying to bully the Irish. Positive says nothing. She got to live the remaining years in that nursing home. And his poor mama, Mammy Till. They have a hot seat in hell for what they did to Emmett Till. Was the most brutal murder in history. And we seen the pictures. And his mother said, I want an open casket because I want the world to see what they done to my baby. A 14-year-old kid, man. Because a white woman said that he whistled at her. So they stormed up in Emmett's family. I think it was the uncle or aunt, because he was from Chicago, but he went down to Mississippi for vacation with his family, and they stormed up in there 2-3 o'clock in the morning and snatched a 14-year-old Emmett Till out of the bed. Only a soulless individual, only soulless people could do something like that. Only a soul. You can't have no soul to do something like that. Sonia Massey, we saw that. Same demonstration. Right? George Floyd. Remember? and the cop had his knee on George Floyd's neck for 9 minutes. For 9 minutes, had his knee on his neck. And at the trial of the cops, can't remember, y'all have to help me out. Was it the doctor or the defense? Somebody said that if George Floyd couldn't breathe, then he wouldn't have been able to talk, because we hear George Floyd calling out for his mother. And that was their defense. If he really was unable to breathe, then he wouldn't have been able to talk. And I said I wasn't going to cover these stories, but as y'all can see, every time I switch lanes and try to go to some other sectors to talk about other things, these stories just keep pulling me back, because you know what I mean? It's like, what's really good? I know what's good. We all know what's good. 15 years old. Oh, he had a loaded gun. He shot at us. That's the same story that we've been hearing time after time over the years, time after time. This is the same story that we keep hearing. And I remember, y'all remember, it was a time when we didn't have cell phones. This was before Rodney King's demonstration. We saw Rodney King, and what they say, if he would have just laid there, then the cops wouldn't have beat him. He caused the cops to beat him because he wouldn't lay there. He wouldn't lay still. Can you imagine you getting your ass whipped by all these cops with billy clubs, beating you, and you're supposed to just lay there and lay still while you're getting your ass kicked, while you're getting your head bashed in? They expected him to just lay there. See, look at the video. He's keep getting up. But y'all remember, it was a time when no videos, and that's was the excuse. Well, if it was on video, we can't take this person's word, And then when we get a video of Rodney King being beat in the streets, you don't even beat an animal. They don't even beat animals like the way they beat Rodney King. Got him on video. Got the officers just destroying Rodney King, beating him. What happened? Those officers got off the hook. Will there ever be justice? Many of y'all say, Shank, when Trump get in office, Trump is going to give them immunity. He's going to get a cops immunity, so the cops won't even be charged. Are we looking at the same picture, or are we turning a blind eye of the police brutality that's been going on in this country ever since we got here? It don't got nothing to do with Donald Trump giving the cops immunity, because whether they get immunity or not, they're going to find a loophole in the system to get the cops off. the cop, I believe this happened down there in Dallas. It was a white female officer. Remember? She went into the black guy's apartment. What'd she say? Oh, I thought that was my apartment. Y'all remember? I thought that it was my apartment that I went in. And I thought he was an intruder. And what happened, y'all? The judge, a black judge, after finding her guilty of the crime, the black judge came off the bench and gave the white officer a hug and told her it's going to be all right. When have you ever saw that? When has it ever been okay for the judge, after handing down a guilty verdict, when have you ever seen a judge come off the bench and give the defendant a hug and tell the defendant it's going to be okay? When? Only if y'all could see. I'm going to run it back for those that just pulled up. This is the case of 15-year-old Jazmir Tucker. Was unalived by Ohio police officers.
Family wants answers after a police officer shot and killed a 15-year-old boy. This all happened last week. Police say that 2 officers heard gunshots near a school, got out of their cruiser and encountered Jazmir Tucker with a loaded gun. One of the officers, a 5-year veteran, then shot and killed the 15-year-old. But the circumstances around the shooting are not exactly clear. And now Tucker's family wants to know if he pointed a gun at the officers, if he was running away, and whether he was the one who fired the shots that those officers heard.
Give us some answers. Why do you have to shoot my grandson like that?
What did he do to make you do that to him? Why would you shoot him?
Ohio's Bureau of Criminal Investigations is looking into the shooting. Ultimately, the case will be presented to a Summit County grand jury. Meanwhile, both officers are on paid leave pending the investigation. That is standard policy.
Both officers are on paid leave. 15 years old. But Shank, black people ain't the only ones that the police kill. Pull a case. Show me a case. Show me one case, and I'll cover that case where a white teenager was killed by police officers. Show me one case. I'll wait. Show me one case where a white child was unalived by a police officer. I'll wait. Show me an Asian child. Show me one case. One case. I'll wait. When the cops, when they're dealing with, and this is why many of us feel as though that there should be, excuse me, y'all. Many of us feel as though that there should be black officers patrolling black neighborhoods. Damn. Because many of us feel like black police officers would treat the blacks different from white and other races of police officers. And I believe that that definitely would stop a lot of the police killings, the police brutality. You know, we know what the police force was created for. And if you don't know, the police force was created to catch runaway slaves. To catch runaway slaves. And then most of the states in the police training, they have a picture. Some cases, some states, they had actual pictures at shooting practice. It was pictures of black men, but they had poster of a black, like Black Shadow. We got it bad in this country. We got it bad in this country. We've always had it bad in this country. And it's not our fault. We are the victims. And I'll debate, I'll go to war. I'll go to war with anybody. I'll debate with anybody that says different. We are the victims. We've always been the victims. And I got news for y'all. Because at one time, the blacks that became rich, or the blacks that made it out of the ghetto, they felt special. They thought that they were an exception. Y'all remember? Y'all remember? Until the rich blacks started getting pulled over while driving while black. Remember? Remember? The middle class blacks was getting discriminated against. You know, when they would go for bank loans, they would go for jobs, and they were being discriminated against. Then you have the blacks that come from the other countries. You know, they famous. They famous for looking down on Black Americans until they get their N-word wake-up call. And I want y'all to listen, and I want y'all to listen good. In America, I don't know about all over the world. I can't speak for how blacks are treated in other countries. But in America, if you got the same complexion that I got, you are still considered the N-word to them. Salute, Brother Nazir, salute. And when the chance comes for them to show you that you are in just like these Black Americans, you'll get that wake-up call, because it was a time, and some of y'all still think that way. What's wrong with the Black Americans? Until y'all get pulled over by the cops. And some of y'all, but I'm not Black American. And those white cops look at y'all like y'all crazy. And those white cops bring y'all to reality. And then you get treated just like we get treated. We are the victims. When it comes to racism, we are the victims. We always have been the victims. When it comes to racism in this country, we are the victims. And if you really, really watched us and knew, we too busy killing each other, we too busy destroying each other to have time to come after y'all. So y'all messing with us for what? The average Black person, we ain't worried about white people. We ain't worried about the cops. We ain't worried about y'all. We just want y'all to leave us alone. Leave us alone. Leave us alone for a whole year. Y'all ain't got to give us no land. Y'all ain't got to give us no reparations. Y'all ain't got to give us no jobs. Because you know one thing about us. One thing about us. Oh, we going to make a way. We going to make a way. Do you see what the blacks in this country done as soon as they got out of slavery back in the 1800s? When did Abraham Lincoln free the slaves? Correct me if I'm wrong, 1865, right? That's when Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves, 1865. When was Black Wall Street burnt down? In Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1926. Y'all help me out though. But you got 1865 to the 1920, 60 years. 60 years. It only took us 60 years. And you got to remember, when they freed the slaves, we ain't had nothing. We ain't had nothing. It took us 60 years, less than 60 years. Just leave us alone. We ain't bothering y'all. Leave us alone. Leave us alone. Y'all not even on our radar, but y'all keep pushing us. That's all I'm going to say. Y'all keep pushing us. Because one thing that I'm going to say about this generation that we call Gen Z, that's going to be the generation that's going to put y'all on your asses. That's all I'm going to say. That's going to be the generation that's going to put y'all on your asses. So keep on. Let me run it back. 1922. Black Wall Street was created, burnt down in 1922. But we know that it was already flowing years before they destroyed it. It happened at Akron, Ohio, Randall. Akron, Ohio. Let me run the clip back. Akron, Ohio.
Family wants answers after a police officer shot and killed a 15-year-old boy. This all happened last week. Police say that two officers heard gunshots near a school, got out of their cruiser and encountered Jazmir Tucker with a loaded gun. One of the officers, a 5-year veteran, then shot and killed the 15-year-old. But the circumstances around the shooting are not exactly clear. And now Tucker's family wants to know if he pointed a gun at the officers, if he was running away, and whether he was the one who fired the shots that those officers heard.
Give us some answers. Why do you have to shoot my grandson like that?
What did he do to make you do that to him? Why would you shoot him?
Ohio's Bureau of Criminal Investigations is looking into the shooting. Ultimately, the case will be presented to a Summit County grand jury. Meanwhile, both officers are on paid leave pending the investigation. That is standard policy.
Let me take a couple comments and I'm going to let y'all get out of here. Brother Nazir says, they don't care what we call ourselves. They're looking at our skin. That is our uniform and the war that has been waged against us. Randall says, what city? I answer that. Randall says, I'm from Canton, 20 minutes away. Shogun says, James Baldwin said it best. When a white man screams, give me liberty or give me death, he's praised. When the black man says the same thing, word for they demonize him. Randall says Ohio is a racist state. Yes, I heard. Ohio is very racist. Brother Nazir said, especially when they're attacking our women and children, using them as soft targets, they actually abuse our elders. I mean, just like, wow. You know, wow. Wow. Like I said, this happened and it's going to continue to happen. I appreciate everybody for pulling up. Y'all got to excuse me, y'all. This dust. I got dust kicking in. Shogun says word for word. Salute Wanda. Salute Wanda. Wanda says, I totally agree with all said. We are the victims for sure. Randall says, but I will say they shoot police in Canton. Like I said, a 15-year-old, my granddaughter older than him. I got a granddaughter older than him. 15 years old. And that is his twin. That's his twin. And they're dressed very nice. This is a very nice picture, a very nice photo of him and his twin brother. As more information come in, I will definitely bring it to y'all attention. Like I said, as much as I try to get away from these stories, I just keep getting dragged back. So as soon as some more information come out, I'll come live and bring it to y'all. Salute everybody. I'll leave the chat running and y'all can hang around. Salute.
Family wants answers after a police officer shot and killed a 15-year-old boy. This all happened last week. Police say that 2 officers heard gunshots near a school, got out of their cruiser and encountered Jazmir Tucker with a loaded gun. One of the officers, a 5-year veteran, then shot and killed the 15-year-old. But the circumstances around the shooting are not exactly clear. And now Tucker's family wants to know if he pointed a gun at the officers, if he was running away, and whether he was the one who fired the shots that those officers heard.
Give us some answers. Why do you have to shoot my grandson like that?
What did he do to make you do that to him? Why would you shoot him?
Ohio's Bureau of Criminal Investigations is looking into the shooting. Ultimately, the case will be presented to a Summit County grand jury. Meanwhile, both officers are on paid leave pending the investigation. That is standard policy.